Every day, garbage trucks pick up millions of tons of trash and transport it to landfills, where they dump it, leaving it to pile up, rot, stink, and leak hazardous material into our environment. Every person in this room produces 1,600 pounds of solid waste every year. The logical answer to this problem is recycling as much as possible. Recycling is something everybody here can do. Today I would like to share some information about recycling that will hopefully cause you to take action and start recycling. Recycling has gained popularity since the 1990s, but it still has many critics. First, I would like to share with you some of the arguments made against recycling. Critics claim recycling is unnecessary and expensive. They say it is unnecessary because the United States still has an abundance of room in the landfills. Have any of you ever seen a landfill before?
Oh yeah.
It's not a pretty picture. You guys can pass these around. I don't know about you, but if we could reuse materials and recycle and not cause the landfills like that, why aren't we jumping at that chance? The second argument that critics say about recycling is that we don't need to recycle because there are no longer a shortage of trees due to the strong reforestation projects of the government. Again, to me this argument makes little sense because if we are never at a loss of trees, it still comes back to the fact that if we don't recycle the paper we use, then it's just going to pile up in the landfill. It makes much more sense to take those resources, even if they aren't threatening to destroy our forests, and use them again and again, whenever possible. Another frequent argument that critics say is that even if waste is recycled, it still has to be reprocessed, and this can have an environmental impact because of the plants and production method utilized. Research disputes this argument by showing that although it is true that recycled materials have to go through plants and processing in order to be utilized again, these plants in fact use less energy to produce less environmentally dangerous emissions than the plants that use virgin resources. The final argument used by recycling critics is that recycling is too expensive. Once again, this argument seems ridiculous to me. It's like someone going to the doctor with an infection, yet refusing to take the antibiotics prescribed because they are too costly. So instead they die from infection. There are times when cost can't determine the best course of action, and recycling is one of those times. Now that I have talked to you about some arguments against recycling, I would like to talk to you about why recycling as many of waste products as possible is an excellent idea. Recycling is good for the planet and its inhabitants for many reasons. The Environmental Protection Agency's website tells that the most preferred method of dealing with solid waste is source reduction and reuse. Source reduction basically means to avoid creating waste in the first place, but when this isn't possible, then reuse, which is why recycling is the next best option. The same website tells that recycling turns materials that would otherwise become waste into valuable resources. During the past 10 years, recycling efforts in the U.S. have doubled, and as a result, in 2005, thanks to recycling and composting, some 70 million tons of material was diverted away from landfills and incinerators. According to the same source, in the same year, the recycled materials resulted in an energy savings equal to the amount of energy used in 6 million homes. Recycling also conserves natural resources such as timber, water, and minerals, which is good for our environment. A person can also nowadays recycle computers and cell phones and other technology like that. Let's look at how recycling can benefit the economy. According to the National Recycling Coalition, a well-run recycling program costs significantly less than operating a waste collection, landfilling, and incineration. Not only does recycling cost less than producing items from new materials, but it also creates jobs in our society. According to an online article, Economic Benefits of Recycling by the NRC, recycling creates $1.1 million U.S. jobs, $236 billion in gross sales, and $37 billion in annual payrolls. According to Alice Horrigan in her article, Choosing to Recycle Because It Pays, recycling creates 4 jobs for every 1 created in the waste management and disposal industries. And lastly, it just makes sense that the more people that recycle, the cheaper it gets, which in turn creates more jobs and saves more money. I hope I have convinced each one of you that not only does recycling benefit the environment, but it is also a good idea economically. In conclusion, won't you please join me in recycling as much of your trash as you can. Today, every one of you will create an average of 4.3 pounds of trash. And by recycling, you can help the planet and your fellow human beings in many ways. Now that you know that despite the fact that recycling has its critics, it is a good idea to recycle as much trash as possible, such as soon as you have soda, throw it in a bag full of other aluminum cans and recycle them. So please, let's all start recycling. Thank you.
Any questions?
No.